Me and my brother a couple of weeks ago lost both of our parents. So this is probably going to be a bit of a strange video, but I guess I wanted to kind of document the process for two reasons, really. One, hopefully, it might be helpful to anyone else who finds themselves in this situation or stumbles across this video, but also because I think hopefully it will also be therapeutic for me. I find sometimes in, a weird way that, doing videos and creating content and making YouTube videos, it's kind of like it almost allows you to like hold up a mirror to yourself in a similar way that like journaling does, it's kind of like keeping a video journal of things that are happening. But, I guess the added benefit here is that, again, hopefully, um, other people can find some comfort or value in it somehow. I mean, this is the first time that I have, I guess. I mean, I've lost people before. I've, colleagues, friends, and um, my nan and granddad, both on both sides of the family. We they passed away on my dad's side in recent years, and my mum's side a long time ago when I was about 16, 17. And I remember that actually did hit me quite hard, but it's very different, I think, to losing parents. Um, I was speaking to Ben about this, my brother Ben, and it's funny because your parents, I think, are the most consistent thing in your life, right? Like they are when you think about it, the only people that have been there from the minute you were born, like literally, like your mother gave birth to you. Like there is nobody else in your life that you will ever have been with through that period of time. Yes, you may, cumulatively over the years, you may start to spend more time with other people, but in terms of like the period of your life that you have known or had that relationship for, there's nothing else like it. And I think that's the thing that I've been noticing. It's been about, um, wow, it's been almost a month, today. That's pretty crazy, and probably a good day to start this on. A month tomorrow it will be, since mum passed away and dad passed away a day after, which in itself is crazy. And I'm sure maybe I'll get into this later in this video or in another video, but there's a whole thing there that actually, yeah, I find a lot of comfort in. But yeah, I'll come back to that. I suppose, at the moment it's just such a mixture of emotions. I feel it's confusing because you don't really know. There's no instructions for grief or loss. You don't really know how you're supposed to feel. Um, I, sometimes I question, like, am I doing this right? Like, is this how I'm supposed to feel? Should I be more upset? Should I be crying more? How am I even making a video? Do you know what I mean? And like I definitely noticed there, I kind of oscillate between these different feelings of feeling, cold and numb, which is almost like, it feels like this subconscious defense mechanism, which I am aware I have had that through a lot of my life, and it's how I cope with a lot of things. I can kind of numb myself to a lot of negative feelings, which isn't necessarily healthy. And I've had to try very intentionally over the years to feel something. Um, and interestingly, and this is something that I found really helped me and maybe can help someone else who's watching this as well. But it's funny. I think I was like having a conversation with Claude or ChatGPT or something, and I was saying like how, you know, how do I feel? This was when mum was very, very ill, coming toward the end of her life, and I couldn't bring myself to feel. I was just felt so numb, and I was like, I couldn't feel, and I was like, this isn't right. Like, I know there is emotion here. I could feel the emotion, but I couldn't release it. And I was explaining that I've got ADHD, and I do have um tendency to block out those feelings, and a lot of the time that is where ADHD comes from. It comes from some form of trauma, and it's like a defense mechanism, At least that's what they say about it. Um, so knowing that, I was kind of asking, well, how can I feel something? And it said, well, what you might want to do, because whilst, like, what I did say is, whilst I can't feel something like this that is potentially extremely distressing, I can watch a flipping Disney Pixar movie and cry my eyes out, right? I can listen to a piece of music and cry. I can see a beautiful exchange between two strangers on the street and I will cry. And I have no problems. I will cry in public quite happily. Like, I have no issues with crying, and I feel so deeply, like everything. I would just cry at the silliest things. So I am somebody who is very emotional. I'm a very emotional person, but when it comes to things that are happening to me, that's when I put my guard up, and that's when I can feel very cold. So it's this weird kind of contradiction. Like, how am I crying? It's random things, and this isn't even, this has been my whole life. I've been like this, so it's not just this situation. Like, my whole life, I've been that way. I cry at so many things, but not things relating, that are directly, um, potentially going to hurt me, I guess, is what it is, right? Um, so and it said, like, well, if you feel these emotions inside you, it's almost a way of tricking your brain, is to watch sad movies, to listen to sad songs, and you will then see yourself in those characters. And that's something that really helped me, and just listening to those songs. And you know there's this song by Ed Sheeran, Supermarket Flowers, which is like heartbreaking. I remember that I really cried. This was even before mum got ill. Listening to that, and like, I just couldn't listen to it without crying. Like, it's a really emotional song. And that, I think, helped me to, again, like, it's this, my brain lets its guard down, because it's like, oh, we're just listening to music. But then all of a sudden, it, like, through this, just, I guess, connection with the singer and with the story, it brings out what I'm feeling. And it's actually been a really useful way doing that, stories and books, and even, some games. Like, there's games that have incredible stories. One that I played a few years ago, which was so helpful, about loss, specifically about dying and moving on, and letting go, called Spiritfarer. It's an incredible game. Like, if anyone watching this, if you are going through or experiencing or have experienced loss recently, or any time, I highly recommend playing Spiritfarer. It's a beautiful, beautiful game. Even watching some YouTube video reflections and analysis and reviews and stuff, if you have to, but it's just, you have to play it to really experience it. But it's so profound, so very profound. And it's just not, there's not like a message. It's not like I can tell you, this is the message from it, here's what you can learn. No, you have to go through it, because the game in itself is, um, it is this experience of getting to know people, and you like these people, and then you have to say bye to them. And you know I, I'll try not to go too much into it. I feel like I'm getting on a bit of a tangent here, but that's just me. um you basically act as a spirit farer, like, what's it called, in mythology, like the ferryman of the dead, Charon. You take the job of Charon, and you have to ferry these souls to the Everdoor, and they then go on to wherever they go, infinity, the afterlife, heaven, whatever. um and you help them to transition effectively, right? Making peace with whatever they can't let go of in this life, and then letting go of that, so they can then transition, hopefully peacefully. But not all of them can transition peacefully. That's the reality. Um, but you have this boat and you make them like little homes on this boat, and they have their own homes and their own quirks. Some of them are funny, some of them are really kind and loving, some of them are like really annoying. They have their own, and they remind you of people you know in your life, you know. And then when they go, their homes are still there. It sounds like such a small thing, but it's such a smart way of like it's a reflection. It's not a reflection, I guess a metaphor for the reminders, like everything we leave behind. There's actually a song in the game, beautiful song, um, that's worth listening to called What We Leave Behind by I think it's LL Max or Max LL Spirit. If you put in Spirit Fair soundtrack, I think it's like the main one. Incredible lyrics, incredible song. But that is what it is, you know, it's what we leave behind. It's the emotions, the feelings. It's like, oh, they used to come up to me on the boat every day and give me a hug or say good morning. I missed that. And you see their little house and the little thing they used to, do every morning, and you're just left with that. And it's the same, when people pass away, and like I've got still a lot of my mum's stuff in my spare room. It's like just there. What do you do with it? And there's this whole, you know, question of, do I keep it? Like I'm not a sentimental person generally. I don't like holding on to things. I don't like things. I just, it's funny. I'm a bit of a kind of contradiction like that. I love buying, like I love gadgets. I love tech, but at the same time, if I start having too many things, I'm just like, okay, I need to just get rid of all this stuff. Um, so yeah, I'm not particularly sentimental. I don't like to just hold on to things because I'm just like, they're just going to get lost. Um, but then it is hard because you're like, do I get rid of this? Should I be keeping something? And I think that's one of the hardest things that I'm finding at the moment is just because there is no instructions for it. You're like, what am I? It probably sounds like a really weird thing to say, like a really stupid thing to say, but you just feel so like, am I doing this right? What should I be doing? Even me doing this video right now, there's a part of me where it's like, I don't really know what else to do. What else should I be doing to process this? Am I overthinking it? Like, do I need to process it that much? I don't know. It's not like stopping me day to day. Um, And I think there have been, again, like peaks and troughs to my feelings. There have been days where I felt very uninspired and lethargic, but there have been other days where I've actually felt super happy and grateful and, creative and in flow and just, grateful for all the memories and everything that these, you know, two incredible people in my life, our lives, have done for us. They've shaped me and my brother in, ways that they'll probably never even really realize. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for how both of us have turned out. We have them to thank for that. And it's funny. Remember speaking to mum about this, and she's saying, "Oh God, I had no idea what I was doing." And it's like, "Mum, you didn't need to. Like, it's perfect. Doesn't matter if you didn't know what you were doing. That's perfect." You like, it's so uh, yeah, it's perfect. Um, yeah. I think as well, one of the other things I remember, I don't feel this so much anymore, but there's a weird, and I remember a friend of mine actually said this to me, um, when I spoke to him a few weeks before, um, they both passed away. He lost his dad, blimey, maybe a couple of years ago now. I remember asking him like, "What's it like?" And he said it's kind of weird because, you know, it, it's almost like everything slows down and it's like this big event happens, but then the world is just moving on. And it almost seems like harsh and unfair and cruel. And it's like, what is everyone doing? Like everyone's just getting on with their daily lives. And it's almost like you think the world is going to stop for you and be like, oh, we're so sorry. Like, what? What is weird that you would even think that, but like it is a, it seems like jarring that like how is the world just continuing like with all this that I'm feeling. And it's like time slows down and you're in this bubble and people are just going about their daily business and things just carry on. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess I'll carry on too. And then you just move on, with your life, and you're kind of like, is that it? Like, yeah, is that it? Is that all that's gonna happen? And then we're back to business as usual. Yeah, it's a weird thing. And I think as well, like I've had glimmers because it is coming up to a month now. So it's still so early days, and several people have said to me, it changes so much um, over time, and especially with life events and like we spent. I don't think we've had a Christmas without mum. In fact, no, I tell a lie. I have had a Christmas without mum because I forced her. I said, "Mum, we can't spend every single Christmas with you." So I think I have had a couple without, but I mean, for the most part, probably like 90% of Christmases, since we were kids, we've spent with mum. Um, and for context as well, my parents were separated. They separated when I was very young, maybe like 4 or 5. Um, when I was younger, we still used to see dad. Like we used to go around there every other weekend to see him in London. Um, and then that kind of became more infrequent as we got older. He remarried. He's had kids again since then. So I've got a half brother and half sister. Um, and so we would see him less frequently, but we'd still go around. Maybe once every couple of months. And we actually got to have a holiday together last year, which was beautiful. And I'll probably talk about that more in another video because I want to make this into maybe like a weekly vlog, just the process and how it unfolds and the feelings and all of that stuff. Again, hopefully it's useful for some people, but even if it's just, for me, to kind of process these things. But yeah, so that's the kind of context there with dad. But mum, she's always been there. And I think these events are going to be hard. Um, I do, when I think about that, it already feels upsetting to think about, it's like, oh, and I sometimes I do get that as well. I do get these kind of thoughts and feelings where it does feel very emotional. And I think I kind of like, okay, let me back off of that and just wait until it happens, kind of thing, right? Um, Birthdays, all these events like Mother's Day. I guess that's the thing. And, now I finally get to feel it for myself, you always see people on social media saying, oh, Mother's Day, and everyone's all celebrating it, and my mum's not here. And now, that's a real thing. You have those reminders, and, you know, I'm sure there's going to be loads of that to come. And, yeah, even now, it was just like, there was this weird feeling I had of, I think I'm getting to the stage where it's been, because I didn't see mum that much. Maybe she would not, if I hadn't seen her for about a month, she would usually like invite herself round. Um, so probably like once a month at least I would see her. So, and I think maybe that's why it's kind of getting to this stage now where it's like, oh, strange. I would have normally seen mum by now, and it's weird. It's almost like there is a part of me that hasn't quite accepted that she's not here, and I don't. It's not that I haven't accepted it. Like it, I understand she's not here anymore, but it's almost like you don't. I think especially when you don't spend every day with someone, it's easy to kind of be like, "Oh, yeah, of course, yeah." Like, Of course, yeah." But I think as time goes on, I can really see this becoming like a thing where it's like, "Oh, well, I'm not gonna see them again." Yeah, and even with dad as well, like the time spans between seeing dad, were even longer. So, and I think again, like when more time goes on, that will just become like, oh my god, it's now been 2 years and 5 years and 10 years, and now I can't even remember what she sounds like and smells like and looks like. And I mean, obviously you've got pictures and stuff, but I do remember actually. Oh, this is quite sad. Hi. I do remember. It's funny. This was like after probably the day, the day after she died, maybe a couple of days after. I remember just wanting to hear her voice. And sometimes, if you can caught myself recently when certain things have happened, and I'll go onto my phone to send her WhatsApp or call, and then I remember I can't do that anymore. It's a weird, weird feeling. Or like I'll see an Instagram post. We always used to send each other these like stupid, funny Instagram posts, and I'll see something and I'll be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna DM that to her." And the DMs are still there. It's like I was saying in Spiritfarer, the WhatsApp chat, the phone history, it's all still there. And that is hard. Yeah, I remember. So yeah, I'm sorry, a bit of a tangent there, but a couple of days after um she died, and I remember looking on my phone and being sad that I don't really have any videos. I do have some videos, but I don't have many of her just talking. y- you know just be nice to just hear her talking. It's funny because I actually found that there's a single voice note I've got from her, and it was in response to a voice note that I sent to her years ago. Like this was like 4 or 5 years ago, saying like, you need to start sending voice notes. I'm like, I can't be bothered to read your messages. Like, just send me voice notes. And she sent me a voice note, like the first voice note she'd ever sent, and she sounded like really awkward. It was so funny. And then she sent a message afterwards saying, "Oh my god, I sound so posh," and she did sound really posh in there. It's quite funny. And I really cherish that voice note. It's really like I've listened to it quite a few times now. Um, but that's the only one I've got. And it's sad. And I guess I should, be consider myself lucky, really, when I think about, when mum and her siblings lost, lost their parents. They don't have that. I mean, maybe there's videos and like a flipping VHS, camcorder somewhere, but like, yeah, they don't have the luxury of voice notes and WhatsApps and high resolution photos and, all the photos of my nan and granddad are photos, like old grainy photos. Um, so I guess in a way it's a blessing. Um, and now more than ever, like you've got like spatial videos and images and yeah. And there's all sorts of like thoughts you have. Like I've even, with like AI now, the thoughts even crossed my mind, and I quickly was like, no, that's so wrong. But like the thought crossed my mind of like maybe I should like, you know, download all her messages into AI and create like an AI chatbot. I mean, it sounds weird, but you do, there's like such a deep um um feeling of loss and craving, wanting just to have that person back, that communication back, that presence, that presence, and and it's this feeling, and then you kind of think like for one, that's a very dangerous road to go down. I think a very dangerous and empty road to go down, and two, it's never going to fill the hole, and nothing will, and I think yeah, nothing ever will, and that's okay. That is okay. Even now I'm saying that that's okay. It's like I'm telling myself it's okay. Um, I mean, yeah, is it okay? What does that even mean? I mean, I guess when I say it's okay, I mean it's you kind of have to deal with it, really. Like I don't want to, but you kind of have to. Like this is life. This is what happens. As sad as it might be. Um, but yeah, I think, and this is only just the start, and I don't know how this will evolve and manifest over time. Um, but again, there have been some really beautiful things that have come from it as well. Just seeing things. When it sounds cliche when people say like, "Oh, they'll always be with you," and they're part of you now. It's true. I think whether you want to see this as some spiritual thing and people leaving imprints on your soul and your spirit, your brain, on your heart, whatever, it is almost undeniable. Like people like that, whether it's friends or family, whatever, they do leave imprints on your mind. They part of them become you. It's the same reason like character traits and sayings and phrases rub off on all of us, right? When you spend time around people, even that, even just picking up phrases from someone is a form of them being imprinted on you. And it's like, I'm now seeing even me saying mum's phrases, it's kind of like it puts a smile on my face, and seeing things like when I'm out and I see things that mum used to see, and mum used to love those. And but I am now seeing the world through different eyes because of her. It's almost like I never would have done that before. I never would have taken notice of those things because she was here, and it's like, "Oh, that's a mum thing. I'm not going to think about that." But now that she's gone, the I think the space, the void, the hole that presence leaves does create space for these, beautiful things to bloom from. Um, and you do start to see things differently and think about things differently and feel things differently. And again, because those people do become part of you, the whole that they leave behind, there is a part of them that exists within that whole, you know. And again, because they're not there, you do start to see those things. And that's them through, you know, acting almost through you. And it's a really kind of magical feeling to be able to see things like that, and see these different things that I never had would have seen before or considered before. So yeah, I mean, it's all that to say, it's yeah, it's been a flipping roller coaster, you know, constant up and down. The first couple of days were very draining, you know, emotionally, um, you know. And again, I just think the way I am, I had to find ways to make myself cry, but I spent a lot of time crying, you know. Um, and even now, like there are things where, and I think this is where again where there's this element of uncertainty. It's like how much do I make myself cry? Because you know people talk about grieving this, like you need to grieve. It's important. How long? Like do I just grieve for months? How do you know when the grieving is the because people say as well the grieving's never done. Like so it's kind of like, well, how much time do I spend on this? Because obviously you've got to get back on with life. You've got to do things. You've got to live. And I know for a fact, Mum would not have wanted me to sit around grieving her, but she would have wanted me to grieve. She was very in touch with her emotions and all of that. So she absolutely would have wanted me to process. But again, it's like, how long do I do that for? Um, you know, then and that was very much a feeling. And even now, like I know I can make myself cry by thinking about intentionally sad things. Like she was in a lot of pain in her last few weeks because she had a brain tumor. And you know, the heartbreaking thing, and this always makes me cry just thinking about it, but like, you know, she lost her ability to talk in the end. You know, her last few weeks, she, because it was the tumor had impacted the speech pathways, her speech slowly went, and then very quickly just gone. Like she couldn't form sentences anymore. Now I remember saying to Ben, like this was about 2 3 weeks before she passed away, and I remember saying to Ben that I really cried at that time because, and I wasn't expecting that because her speech was like slower for a while, and I was like, oh, it's just, you know, you're kind of like, all right, man, come on, and you could kind of laugh about it. But then when she stopped being able to form sentences, that was really heartbreaking because then it's like, oh, I like that it's gone. I can't talk to, and in fact, and that was, it wasn't after she died, the voice notes, it was before she died. Because I feel like I almost went through a period of grieving that loss, the loss of being able to speak to her before she even passed away. You know, because I remember thinking at the time, and again, she was still here, and I was looking at my phone, and I was like, because she used to text me every day, "Can you bring me some cookies?" Or like, "You can get me like a Kit Kat," you know, sending me all these WhatsApps or like calling me. Look at my WhatsApp, and she couldn't use her phone either because it was just too much to process. And you know, at that time, and I was just like, I'm not gonna. There's no more WhatsApps, no more phone calls, no more messages, and that in itself was, you know, real. I really, you know, had to grieve that loss first. Um, you know, even before anything. So it kind of like happened in these weird stages. Um, yeah, wow, I've completely forgotten about that. That was yeah, it was tough. But yeah, like even that, so like what was I was saying about how, you know, I can, if I think about that, and if I, and one of the things she said to me like pretty much on the day that she started to stop being able to form sentences was like, she said she's scared, she's scared of being in pain. And I remember it was so horrible because she was in pain and she was groaning and she couldn't say what it was. It was so horrible. It's just so hard to see. And I couldn't do anything to help. I remember I went on to Claude and I started just like all night, just for days, just trying to find a way to make. I made like an app on her iPad, to like a touch screen so she could kind of point to things, while she couldn't talk, but just visually, like I think her visual interpretation of things just started to shut down as well. So I was just trying to figure out like how I could understand, how I could help. Yeah, if I think about these things, as you could see, if I think about these things, it does make me very emotional, and I know, like, if I think about that, I can cry, and it's like, do I do that? Do I go to that dark place and reflect on that, or do I not? Like, how much do I do it for? Do I keep doing it until I don't cry anymore? Like, what's the deal? And I just don't know. Like, who knows? What's the right answer? What's not the right answer? The answer that I came to, I like to think I'm quite a, intuitive person. Um, I like to, you know, follow and listen to my intuition as much as I can. And I think the answer that I kind of found for myself is you just have to trust yourself. You know, I have to trust myself on when enough is enough. And if there's a time, and I feel like I do feel this. Sometimes I feel like I feel sad today. I need to cry. I need to grieve. I need to reflect on this, and I will reflect on it. And there will be other days where I think, cool, like I have this, you know, inspiration, and I feel inspired and I want to create something, and I'll create something. And I won't, try not to feel bad about it, because there's a part of me where it's like, you should be grieving, you should be doing this, you shouldn't be having fun. And it's like, no, like, you should. Um, and again, I think that's what it comes down to. Like, as long as you are listening to yourself, that's, again, I don't know what the answer. I don't think there are answers, but I think the only thing that makes sense to me is to be able to listen to myself and be honest with myself. Not like, I don't mean, you know, going and ignoring what you're feeling. I mean, feeling what you're feeling. If you're feeling bad, cool, and you feel like you need to feel it, feel it. If you feel like you don't need to feel it anymore and you want to do something else, and do something else. But feel it, and feel it fully and honestly. That's what I told myself, and continue to tell myself even now. But it's such a ever changing thing. We had Mum's funeral last week, I think, or maybe the week before, actually. I think we got Dad's funeral this Wednesday, tomorrow, day after. um so that'll be, I remember, actually, after Mum's funeral, it's funny. I said to my brother as well about how it felt like the day she died, like the day after her funeral felt like the day she died, except there was just a void because there's nothing else left to do. Like, when someone dies, as sad as it is, there is this there's so many things you have to do. You got to register the death, and then you got to notify all these people. You have to, let the family know and deal with the paperwork and administration and all of this stuff, and then plan the funeral. Like, there's so many things to do, and that can kind of be a blessing in a way. It's like, because there are so many people, like, family, which I'm very grateful for. Like, everyone's like, oh, can I help? But, can I do anything? And it's kind of like, actually, I don't want you to do anything. I want to be busy. Um, but that, it kind of gives you this protective bubble, this protective shield during that period, I think. And then after the funeral, it's like, oh, now there's nothing. And it's a weird sensation. So yeah, we're gonna have that again tomorrow with Dad, and I'm sure that'll be a whole thing. But yeah, I'll check in again next week with another video. I hope that it's maybe been useful to someone. I mean, it's certainly been useful for me. Like, I think, you know, any of these things, it's just an opportunity for me to, I guess, reflect on these things and the process, and how things are unfolding, and to let some emotions out, and to just talk through the feelings and experiences, and the feeling of, I guess, confusion, and not knowing what to do, or what's right, or how should I be feeling. Um, it's a strange thing, but yeah, that's that's all I have to say.